everyone, and welcome to another episode of Annie Talks, where we bring to you interesting stories about interesting people that you want to know about. I'm your host, Annie Rivera. Thank you for tuning in, and to those who have already subscribed. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. And if so, I personally invite you to subscribe. Annie Talks is brought to you by Luxwear Trends, affordable, luxurious timepieces for every occasion, luxury that lasts forever, and that's what sets us apart from others. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit luxweartrends.com. That's Luxe weartrends.com. Welcome everyone to episode number 39. We are one episode away from number 40. I cannot believe that. How exciting is that? I cannot thank you all enough for listening to Annie Talks and for all of your support. I do read all your comments and feedback, especially those who message me privately or via email. I truly appreciate your kind words and suggestions for show topics, etc. Keep those comments coming, everyone, and don't forget to also rate and review my podcast in whatever podcast app you listen on. Your ratings help my podcast and help others to find this podcast too. So, my next guest in this episode is a very special person who I met toward the end of 2017. You may recognize her name as she was my guest on episode 12. At the time when we first talked with her, she was currently working on a very special project. So in this podcast, I've asked her back onto the show to talk about the completion of that project, and I cannot wait for you to hear all about it. I'm talking about the beautiful and talented Alissa Hunnicutt, who has made a name for herself as a singer, storyteller of alternative folk music. She draws from her acting and musical training to personalize songs with her thoughtful and emotional ukulele arrangements. She especially loves sad songs. So bring a tissue, everyone. Alissa holds a Master of Music degree from Manhattan School of Music and Vocal Performance. She's also an accomplished puppeteer in all styles of puppetry, having performed at the National Puppetry Conference at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, the Great Small Works International Toy Theater Festival, Sesame Street, and the CBS series Life in Pieces. Most recently, she has combined her puppetry and ukulele performing into a single evening of unique entertainment. So everyone, without further delay, here now is my conversation with Alissa Hunnicutt. So today's guest is a very special friend I met not too long ago, and she actually was on my show once before, and without going too much further into why I have her back on my show, I'll have her explain all that to you, but I want to reintroduce you to Alissa Hunnicutt, who is a singer, an ukulele player, and a puppeteer. And yes, you heard correctly, puppeteer. So Alissa, thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're so welcome. I'm happy to be here. Absolutely. Yay.
So talk about those things. Talk about your background, about how you became a singer, how you became an ukulele player, and a puppeteer. Talk
right.
about that.
Well, they're sort of three different things, right, for sure. But I've been singing since, honestly, before I could talk. You know, my parents always said that I was cooing and singing before I could even, you know, when you're pre-verbal and you're just making noises, I went straight to singing. And even as a kid, that's what I would do for fun. I remember even in elementary school in recess, you know, everyone would run. Did you hear that bing in that?
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, that's
okay. It's probably mine. I thought it was mine.
No, that was me. So, singing forever, ever. The other kids would run around and play ball games or something during recess, and my friends and I would walk around and sing songs together. That's a super vivid memory for me. So, and I started in girls choir when I was in elementary school. I started doing community theater, and then I had joined other professional choirs, went to college for music, for vocal performance, and then did my graduate degree at Manhattan School of Music in vocal performance in opera. So,
awesome.
So I did that, and then went back to my love of musical theater and did that for a long time. And I eventually then, let's see, what came next? Then I found puppetry. So in 2005, a friend of mine recommended a puppetry class to me, sort of out of the blue. And I thought, that's a skill I feel like I could do. There's so many different parts about that skill that I already do. I was already doing costume character work, so I was already being inside the big suit and animating something that wasn't alive. I was bringing life to this inanimate object of this costume. And then I was already a singer, was already doing some radio work and some voiceover acting. And so I'm doing voices and things. So I already had that piece of it too. And I just hadn't put them all together into puppetry. So, so 2005, I took a class, and then the next year I started working as the resident puppeteer at a children's hospital in New York. And I had that job for 6 years. And I'm so lucky to have had that experience. And right after I got that job, then in 2007, I started attending the National Puppetry Conference at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center in Connecticut. And I have learned so many different styles from masters of the different art forms, and I've just dabbled in all the different styles of puppetry I can get my hands on, literally.
Wow.
So that has been just really, really fun for me, exploring who I am as a puppeteer and a visual artist, and I was able to really combine my singing and my puppetry to create something that was really specific to me and what I do.
And I'm sure it was very fulfilling also to reach out to the children and then of course see their reaction and then just bring joy to them.
Yes. The work at the hospital was especially fulfilling. And I have so many great memories of making some real connections with patients that I was working with there over the years. And then my own puppetry, my own individual expression of who I am as a puppeteer is actually not for kids. And so I was doing a lot of puppetry that was slower paced or sad or something that just wasn't, it's not like it was raunchy. It just wasn't meant for a child to be entertained by. And so it was really thoughtful, emotional, visual storytelling. And so, so that was really where I found who I really was. I was able to really express, everything that was happening in my life and finding just the right song that expressed that emotionally in music, and then combining that with a visual just gave me a sense of who I am, so much more than just one or the other did.
Right.
And then so I'm through all of my love of music, especially I get pulled to that sort of singer-songwriter, indie pop, vocal, folk kind of sound that, and I became a really huge fan of Ingrid Michaelson, and she also plays the ukulele. So, she was one of my very first influences in that instrument, and I thought, oh, that would be so fun. I should just pick up an instrument that I can just play on the couch by myself and have no expectations. It's not my performance instrument. It's just something for me to do for myself for fun, be able to make music on my own And then, that lasted about 6 months before I was like, oh, I want everybody to hear what I'm doing. And, and I want to get really good at this, and I want to keep studying and excelling. And so I had worked on it on my own for about a year. And then when I moved to Southern California, there's a really thriving ukulele community here. I think partly because we're so close to Hawaii. And so a lot of people have moved from the island to the mainland here. And so there's a lot of that Polynesian influence. And also I think ukulele is just, we talk about that all the time. It's having kind of a resurgence over the last few years. And so I've been kind of riding that as well. And, it was just something I really, eventually it turned into a way I could make my music without needing someone else to come with me. Right. That became the really big pull for me. Right. Was I didn't need somebody on a piano accompanying me in order to sing, or I didn't need a track to sing to, or I didn't need, I was able to just pick up my own instrument and go, and all I needed was a microphone, and I could just make music.
Awesome. So it was portable, convenient, and it was also part of your musicality. So
That's right.
So now, as a musician and a vocalist, or as an ukulele player and a vocalist, so we're going to talk about your project that just launched. So why don't you tell the world about your new project, or about your new product?
Well, let me show you. Yeah. So I just released my debut EP. It's called Something, and it has 5 songs on it. And the physical CD also includes a bonus video track that is a shadow puppetry piece. Awesome. That you can only get on the physical CD. And then all of the sound audio files are available streaming on Spotify or on Apple Music, or you can download it on iTunes or on CD Baby, all of those places. So the EP is available everywhere. It just launched last week, so it's hot off the presses. Yes, I'm really excited about it.
Now, how long have you been working on this project? Sorry.
Well, no, not at all. So what happened was my co-producer, Christopher Trainer of Red Light Fever Studios, who I was introduced to through Sandwich Island Network, of course.
So that was a shameless plug, first of all, to Chris Trainer at Red Light Fever Studios and to Sandwich Islands Network.
That's right.
Yay. Okay, sorry.
That's right. So through Kamaka Brown, I came in to do some interviews and sing for Sandwich Island Network, and then I met Chris, and Chris and I had a really good time working together. And he was like, "We need to make an album. Awesome. We just need to make an album." And I'm yes, let's do that. Yes, please. I would like to do that. I've been thinking about doing something. Since I had a cabaret show in New York, at one point I had a show that was cabaret, just me singing with a piano and with puppetry, an hour-long show, and I love that show. And it was called The Kid Inside. Oh. And at some point, I very well may do an audio recording of that show as well. I'd like to remount it, but it meant a lot to me, and I meant to do that then, and then I just didn't really get around to it. And then picking up the ukulele, and I needed to get to a place where I felt comfortable really representing myself as an ukulele player. A couple of years ago, I was incredibly fortunate to be brought into the Ohana music, Ohana. So I am a friend of Ohana. I'm endorsed and supported by them. Awesome. And that they have just been so helpful and encouraging and supportive of my music and my growth as an ukulele player and as an entertainer. So that was one of the things I pitched to them. I said, I really want to do a CD. And so I would like to play your instrument on my CD, and I'd like to represent your brand. And so that's how that happened.
Awesome. So talk about the EP now. Talk about what was the inspiration behind the EP, and are they and for those who haven't already heard, why don't you talk a little bit of the style and genre of music?
Sure. So the inspiration really for coming out with an EP was we had started some of the tracks that are going to ultimately be on a longer form album. But then I had an opportunity this fall. Just last week, I was headlining a ukulele festival in Utah.
Oh, yay.
The Utah Ukulele Festival in Logan, Utah. And I was the headliner, and I really wanted to have something that I could show of what I've been working on. And so I made something.
That's the title of it. It's called Something. And
so I was like, I really need something that I can show.
I saw a post. I think it was on your Instagram. It made me laugh because you said, I made a something or something. What did you say on your post?
I made a thing.
I made a thing. It was
I made a
so
thing.
Cute. It was so
something.
Yeah. It's a something.
It's a something.
So
that was what happened. I just wanted to make sure that I got some of my music out into the world a little, as we're still working on the larger album. Some of these tracks, I can think of one of these tracks that will likely be just exactly like it is and picked up and put over onto the album. All of the others are still going to have some new arrangements put around them. I want some other musicians to come into the studio. I have big ideas for the songs that I want to do, and it's just taking a little longer than I had hoped to get where that one's ready for the world. But this is ready for the world now, and I'm so excited.
So now talk a little bit about the music, about the songs that your song selection.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said before, I sort of picked up the ukulele because Ingrid Michaelson played the ukulele, and I'm such a big fan of hers. She and I have obviously had a lot of the same life experiences because I so often identify with that lyric that she's putting forth, whether it be one of her heartache songs or one of her, like, I'm going to be okay and I've got this, or, there's so many of her songs that just really resonate with me. And so I've been playing that kind of music, that sort of indie singer songwriter folk pop. I'm not exactly sure what you call it, but what I call it is music with a singable, beautiful melody that has heartfelt lyrics behind it. And that's the kind of music that I'm drawn to. So being a fan of Ingrid, I also have explored and listened to all of the solo CDs of her other bandmates, and that has then gotten me down the rabbit hole through their friends, and they're all they're singing in very similar styles, and so I'm drawn to everything they're doing. So Allie Moss is one of my other favorite composers and singers, and she is represented on my EP as well. She's one of Ingrid's backup singers and her rhythm guitar player. So and then I also cover some Bess Rogers, who was a lead guitar player for Ingrid for a while, backup singer. And Bess and Allie work together a lot. They teach a songwriting class together. And then, so I have a couple Ingrid songs on here, and then I have an Allie Moss song. And then one of the other influences that I've had since I got to Southern California is the sort of nouveau swing that's happening. There's a real trend that's happening in sort of rockabilly, nouveau swing kind of stuff. And there's, so much fun. Yeah. And there's a local band called Leftover Cuties that I'm a big fan of, and so I'm covering one of their songs in that style. So it's a little more up-tempo, and it's got a little more of a beat. Christopher Traynor plays percussion on that track.
Oh my goodness, he's so multi-talented, both of you.
And then the last track on the song on the album is one of my puppetry pieces. So When Hope Goes is from a musical called The Spitfire Grill.
Okay, so I thought I heard that. Yeah.
So it's a musical theater song, and I created with my friend Frankie Cordero a few years ago this really pretty shadow puppetry show. The reason it's so great for shadow is the character in the musical is telling a story about her childhood. She's telling a memory of what happened to her and her town when she was 8 years old. And so I kind of love the idea of, when you have a memory, it's maybe you don't have all the details that you had at that moment. Right. So I feel like a shadow of what was happening is actually probably closer to what we actually have in our memories, right? So I love that shadow. I was drawn to use shadow puppetry to represent this song because it's talking about this memory that she had as a child.
What is shadow puppetry?
So there's a few different ways. Basically, all it means is there's a figure between a light source and a playboard.
Okay.
So in the form of shadow puppetry that's in the video that's exclusively on the physical CD is a traditional shadow puppetry where there's a screen. I'm standing behind it with my co-puppeteer, my assistant puppeteer, Calvin Cow. The two of us are working behind the screen. And then there's a light behind us, and we're putting up a figure, a cutout figure on the screen, and then that's creating a silhouette that you see from the other side.
Okay, now I do get that. That's awesome.
Right. And then I do another kind of shadow puppetry. I do my live show right now where there's a flashlight, and I have a flashlight on a little paper image, and it's projecting a shadow onto a wall or onto
right.
So
that's awesome.
Like a front projection, but these are a rear projection where it's just like a silhouette. Yeah. Like making hand shadows, like when you were a little kid and you made like a bunny rabbit or like.
Yeah.
It's actually,
like that. So I did a musical not too long ago called Into the Woods, and I played the granny, and we had this little tiny house, and there was the wolf, was inside the house, and then Little Red, and Grandma, emerges outside of the wolf, and so that was all that was done in shadow puppetry.
There you go,
which was really interesting. And then when I emerged, it was really weird because I became full life or real life. So,
right. So you were real size, but they were able to show this scene that would have been really difficult to stage otherwise.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yep.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast episode. We'll be right back after this short message from one of our sponsors. Comfotherm thermal wraps are designed to help relieve the pain and swelling in and around the jaw, especially after wisdom teeth extractions. For more information, visit comfotherm.com. That's comfotherm.com. So now, how does your music stand out? What's different? And, what's the one characteristic about your music that people can draw to?
I think it's similar to a workshop that I actually give, which is an acting through singing workshop where we are really delving into the lyric of the song and really understanding what it is you're saying and why you're saying it and who you're saying it to and what is the urgency about saying that. I think about that with all of the songs that I am interpreting. I choose them specifically because they remind me of a moment in my life, and I want to be able to share that moment with an audience.
They say that home is where the heart is. I guess I haven't found my home. And we keep driving around in circles, afraid to call this place our own. And are we there yet?
Very often people come up to me after a show and they say, oh my goodness, I experienced very similar story in my life. And that song really hit home to me.
So
and
it's
that's,
heartfelt. Mm-hmm.
it's very heartfelt. Even the up-tempo, silly, funny, like I'm in love with somebody songs, because I am. Oh, pardon my beeping.
Yeah, no worries.
So, I've got happy songs. I've got sad songs. I've been through a lot of, I'm just going to take that again.
That's okay. No worries.
She's
just very popular.
That's it. I'm such a social. That's right.
She's already lining up those next gigs, right?
That's the one.
That's the one.
So yeah, I think the emotional vulnerability that I bring to the music that I sing is what I bring to the table that maybe not everybody thinks about.
One thing I want to bring, if you can hold up your CD again. Now, am I correct? You're a marketer. You're a digital marketer. Did you do your own artwork?
Well, I am dating an amazing illustrator and animation director.
There you go.
So he has quite the eye. I have been producing digital content for a very, very long time. And I'm a producer, project manager for a living, for a day job. So organizing everybody and making this happen was probably a little easier for me than maybe somebody who doesn't have experience doing that. I have an amazing photographer that I got to do this shoot in this thing that's touring, this Instagram pop-up called Happy Place. And they have I had already been working with my web designer, Tammy Heaton of Undeniable in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. She and I came up with this color palette of the pinks and yellows. And if you go to my website, alissahunnicutt.com, you will see that the site that Tammy and I put together, she was a major driving force on coming up with sort of that branding palette for me. And so that has been so helpful in driving what does all my marketing material look like? Who am I as a brand? And so there's all kinds of yellow on the back. And then on the inside, there's more yellow and confetti, ribbons and so much fun. Make sure if you get the CD that you pick up the CD and look underneath, because that's where all the credits are. So
awesome! Oh my gosh,
isn't that cute? So Tim Eldred did the art design on the packaging, and he and I created the jewel cases, and then I worked with Oasis CD to do the CD manufacturing. And I'm so pleased.
I know. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you.
So proud. I feel like a surrogate mother who's watching.
Yes.
So now what's the one takeaway message that you would like listeners to know about your music and about Alissa Hunnicutt? Well,
I think certainly all of the emotional vulnerability that's really what I want everybody to know about with me. And I'm an open book as far as things that have happened in my life that have been really difficult, and, other challenges that I've been facing, whether it be depression and anxiety. I am an advocate to speak about those things. So I sing about those things. Awesome. And so many people are battling through those demons in their head and their heart. And, for me, it helped me to sing about it.
So this is your outlet, basically.
Absolutely.
So some people would journal and you sing. So, that's beautiful. Everybody needs that outlet. And, you sing it so beautifully. And I heard the entire album, and it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've always loved your music and your voice. So
thank you.
Do you have any upcoming you're welcome. Do you have any upcoming performances that we can note here? Or
I do. Next weekend, I'm going to be up in Auburn, California, for an ukulele festival up there. I'm not actually going as a teacher, but I'll be up there running around and singing my little heart out. And then the following week, I'm in Chicago, and I'm doing a puppetry performance at the Puppet Meltdown Puppet Slam on Saturday the 18th. And then following the Puppet Slam in the same venue, I am doing an ukulele and puppetry show.
Oh my goodness. So
I know.
exciting.
And then the end of September, I will be doing a short set at 3:00 as part of the LA International Ukulele Festival in Torrance. So if you're a Southern California person, definitely come September 22nd, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's in Torrance. You can come see me live then.
Awesome. Now tell everybody where we can find your music and where we can find you on social media.
So you can find my website, alissahunnicutt.com. I'm sure you'll have it all spelled out for everybody, Annie. It's lots of double letters, double S, double N, double T. And from there, you can really get to everything. I'm on Facebook, Alissa Hunnicutt Music, and I'm on Instagram at Puppet Missy, and I'm on Twitter, raging to the man on Twitter at Puppet Missy there also. So you'll get way more about my political insights and on my Twitter feed. So go to Instagram and see all my cute face ones. And the website is really the best place to get all the info.
So I will have all that information for all you listeners.
That's right.
Awesome. Alissa, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so excited for you.
I am too.
I wanted you to be able to shout it to the world. So
that's exactly how I felt when it launched last week. I was just like, oh my goodness. Yeah. People can go to all these places and finally hear really polished, finished, mixed, crisp trainer brought so much to those arrangements and Jared Jenkins was my co-arranger on all the ukulele arrangements, so I definitely want to give him credit. Awesome. and then Chris just found a way to shape the song. He produced and mastered just something I'm really, really proud to have everybody hear. So it's a collaboration for sure.
Well, you definitely should be very, very proud, and all the hard work is coming to fruition. So congratulations.
Thanks, Annie.
Of course. Thank you so much again for being on the show.
Anytime.
Well, that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Annie Talks and getting to know more about Alissa Hunnicutt. And if you didn't pause this episode to download her album, there's still plenty of time. You can find Alissa Hunnicutt's Something album on iTunes, CD Baby, or you can stream it on Spotify. But remember, you get all the extras and bonus items that Alissa talked about during the show directly when you buy the CD itself. So I encourage you all to do that. Don't forget to check Alissa's website too. I will have all the information down below in the show notes, so be sure to check them out. Now, before we sign off, if you aren't already subscribed to my podcast, I invite you to hit subscribe and be notified anytime we upload a new episode. If you are already subscribed, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. If you could all please rate and review my podcast, please leave a comment or two. It would really help me out, and it would also help others to find this podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and I will have the link to all the social media below in the show notes as well. And lastly, if you enjoy this podcast, please consider contributing to my Patreon page. Your contributions will help to further the vision and mission of Annie Talks so that we could produce more episodes like this one and many other types of episodes and topics. The Patreon page will also be included in the show notes below. Thank you all again for tuning in, and keep listening to Annie Talks.
Hi, this is Alissa Hunnicutt. You want to check out my new EP called Something and listen to me talk all about it on Annie Talks.